Hello, everybody, and welcome here for week 3 of the AWC Pro Series here from the Texas Motor Speedway as we get ready to go. One more time, some more mile-and-a-half racing today. Hello, my name is Christian Elgato alongside Matthew Prochatsky. And Matthew, tonight, obviously, we're here at Texas Motor Speedway, but we get to go a little bit back in time here as we go to the old configuration here from Texas.
Been going to for quite some time. And obviously, following the reconfiguration, a lot of controversy surrounding the racing product that we see today. But you mentioned, Christian, going to be a bit of a time capsule today as we get to go back in time, see this old style of racing, and hopefully get a good show for us here at the Texas Speedway today.
I definitely agree. And the one thing I'm interested to look at tonight, Matthew, is just as we go back here on the track side to look at some drivers who are running some laps, just how different it's going to race. Obviously, we all know Texas how it is today, but here it's completely different, right? Look how much banking is here in 1 and 2, and look how more shallow it is, and it just really changes the dynamic. Remember, you think about back in the day, as you see some of the drivers come out of turn 3 and 4. Remember that big bump out of turn 4 that Texas used to have? We have that back now with this new reconfiguration. It's something we're going to have to look at. It just all the little nuances that these drivers are going to have to re-navigate. You think about turn 1 and 2, which is really the big point of where like they reconfigured the track to make it more wide. Back when they reconfigured it to make it the racing better in parentheses. But now you have that old 1 and 2 that we're used to loving, and you see everybody having an issue here at a turn 4.
Yeah, as we take a look at Brett Bennett leading this little pack here in the '06 Strictly Stats car and in the wall there. And yeah, that bump out of turn 4 definitely going to be a challenge for these guys. Obviously this car, this style of racing, the O'Reilly Series car gets so much praise because of its, almost throwback driving style. We don't see a lot of cars with poor handling, a lot of wheel spin in the corner, and this car obviously brings that to the table whenever we take it to the track. And we can see, obviously, drivers getting out of shape. And not only that, but, yeah, obviously, going to be able to drive it in a little bit deeper here and going to be able to experiment with a lot of different lines here as we are coming up on 6 minutes left in the practice session.
6 minutes left in practice, and right now, looking at the top of your leaderboard right now, Jake Scarborough, right now, currently sitting in the pits, I think. Was actually off the track. But Jake Scarborough, Enrique Kugelon, Bryson Burton, and we just looked at Brett Bennett, Matthew Chastain, P5 in practice. A good start of his season, it seems to be right now, and we'll continue to see, how this Chastain driver will adapt and work her way around the track here. And remember, showed some speed here throughout some of these first couple of weeks, but sitting up here in P5 got to be a good way to start off the season.
Yeah, without a doubt. And, practice is obviously, that opportunity to just see where your car is every week and to be able to kind of, figure out the little nitty gritty bits of this car because obviously, once you hit the track for qualifying, you're going to be setting that hot lap and you want to know where the upper and lower limits of your car are, where handling is good and or bad. So obviously, Matthew Chastain taking a good opportunity to get out there and get a good few lap times down here. Obviously, last week at the Homestead Miami Speedway for the AWC Pro Series, we saw 72 machine. That would be our winner from last week, Jake Scarborough. He actually is also in this race today, and he's going to be piloting one of these cars that I actually screen right now. Actually, that's a mistake on my end. But yeah, Christian, let's talk a little bit about last week's winner.
Yeah, I mean, last week we just saw kind of a barn burner of a race, and it's interesting to see because I don't see the 7-2 out on track tonight. So, it's going to be interesting. Obviously, if he decides not to show up tonight, that kind of opens the door to some other drivers here tonight to take advantage of this driver, not showing up. And now, I mean, 4 minutes left in practice. He has 5 minutes left in qualifying to show up, but, usually, especially when it comes down to these league-style races, most of the time tell that, okay, probably not going to show up tonight, and that's what it seems that it shows right now. We get ready to round out practice.
Yeah, and that's my mistake on the winner last week, 53 car, Bryson Bird, Valve he is in fact on track.
Yeah, Bryson coming
A
out
little
pit
bit of
road
a
right
mix-up
now.
there.
Oh, but Bryson, we've seen before. He's gonna be quick everywhere we go. So sitting right now, currently P3 on the board. One last week. We're coming back to another mile and a half. I feel like this is kind of some of Bryson's stronger suits is these kind of mile and a half. So we'll have to see. Obviously, P3 in practice right now, not that far off. The fastest lap here only a tenth off of Scarborough in the 77. So hopefully, you can take that practice speed into qualifying.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, right now, the majority of the drivers that have been out on track, um, mostly unchanged for lap time. Top 5: Scarborough, Enrique Cucalone, Bryson Bird, Brett Bennett, and Chastain rounding out that top 5. Right now, we have 3 drivers in the session, and so obviously going to be a good field for this race at Texas today. We follow along at Robertson 42 machine. Definitely a lot to consider with this kind of a size of field here. Gonna have to be working with people you may not have worked with in the previous race, or people that you don't get along with, or people that you do get along with, obviously. So it'll be interesting to see how that dynamic kind of shifts throughout the race and where people find themselves around.
It's gonna be interesting because like a lot. I mean, we've seen some people struggle here at this track because a lot of guys don't really come to this track. Remember, like this is legacy content here on the service, and a lot of people, I wouldn't say bought the track just for this particular race, but officials don't really come here a whole lot. And really the only places you see this is in this kind of league racing sort of thing where people want to come and race here at the, this older layout of Texas, this older configuration. And it's going to be interesting to see, obviously it's easy to kind of figure it out the track on your own and run laps and everything, but it's a whole different beast when you get out here with 22 other cars trying to keep this thing going in the right direction.
Yeah, coming up on the practice here with a little under a minute 30 left to go. Obviously, yeah, these guys are, mostly unfamiliar with this kind of a car track combination. Like you mentioned, Christian, not a common combination that you see officials or really many other leagues that I'm aware of. So it's kind of a no man's land type of race in a way. And so obviously, Jake Scarborough being top of the leaderboard right now, definitely showing all these guys around him that he's come to play and he's got a really fast car underneath him.
Oh, yeah, definitely agree. We have, John Trainer back here in the field. Obviously didn't race week 2 at Homestead. Remember, had a good finish at Daytona. You see him right now currently P17 on the board. Looking to build a little bit more speed in this 3 machine. But remember, had a good points day. Week 1 there at Daytona. We got an interview with this driver. Hopefully he can, maybe take some of that momentum from Daytona, bring it in here into Legacy, Texas, and kind of and build on this car here as we get ready to get into qualifying.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously, John Trainer, one of those guys just outside of the top 15 right now. Not quite where he wants to be for the start of this race, but hopefully figuring something out, making some adjustments. And speaking of adjustments, Christian, let's talk to the audience here about what kind of things that these drivers can do to their car in such a tight field like you have to.
Yeah, obviously a fixed setup here for these drivers here in these O'Reilly machines. So it's not like in real life where you can go down and tell your crew chief, hey, it's loose, let me take out a little bit of wedge, or let me do this, let me do that. Really, the only thing you can do here is kind of adjust this is what, and I feel like this is why practice is the most crucial part of the race, honestly, and in some aspects, is because the only time you can really change this car is before you get in for qualifying, before you get in for the race here. And you can adjust maybe the steering ratio, so you have to turn the wheel a little bit more, a little bit less, maybe a little bit. And really the only thing other thing you can adjust here in these Xfinity cars is the brake bias, and that's really only maybe if you're gonna come down pit road or something of that type of thing, is if you're gonna come down if we do get green flag pit stops, to make sure you don't um miss the pits, or potentially even like spin out coming to pit road.
Yeah, certainly. Obviously, glad to see a lot of these drivers taking advantage of this practice session that just finished up here. And so we're following along with Enrique Cucalone, the 22 car Ford Mustang machine, taking it to the track here, getting ready to set his qualifying lap out at the Texas Motor Speedway. 4 minutes of qualifying coming up on now as Enrique Cucalone takes his green flag.
2 laps for these drivers here. they have to run 2 clean laps, right? Can't the wall can't do anything, so we'll see what he can do here coming out of turn 1 and 2 for the first time, going down this long back stretch here from Texas, and then down here into 3 and 4. See if he can get a good lap here on lap 1.
Yeah, in Texas, qualifying, just one of those tracks where obviously you see Enrique just getting to the bottom as soon as he get into the corner here, wasting no time, just ripping it all the way down to that white line. And obviously, something to be said about how these guys are going to be, taken to the track in the race for qualifying, right? Like, obviously trying to set the fastest time right now, but will the strategies change throughout the race with the grooves here? Do we get multi-groove racing, Christian? Do you think?
That's gonna be interesting to see. Obviously, we see Enrique here come P10, but Bryson Bird out here, we talked about him, gonna be quick. Goes up to P1 and now back to P2. And Zach Probst, the 62 machine, goes up to the second place spot. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I know here in real life back in the day, the multi-groove is really good and really racy, but here on the sim it's a little bit different, right? I know the iRacing and the whole team down there are trying to work on getting this multi-groove racing to work to where the rubber will build up and they have to move around here. But honestly, I think this is really one of those tire management tracks, kind of like how old Atlanta was here on the sim, where you're probably just going to have to see a lot of drivers who are going to be content just sitting in line, saving their stuff, and then maybe once they feel like they have a little bit of an advantage on the rest of the drivers, then they would pull out, maybe run the top there, especially maybe they're in 1 and 2 to see if they can maybe make some passes.
Yeah, certainly, and I think Texas is definitely one of those tracks where, you notice a lot of people getting out of shape out of the corner, right? And so if you lay down, rubber coming off corner exit there, that could be a huge deficit in your time. And so obviously the tire saving is going to be a really big consideration. But I think one thing that we'll keep an eye out is, how out of shape are people getting off the corner, and are people getting, squirrely and then, mashing the gas once they get things gathered up and off the turn 2 or turn 4 here as we take a look at the 21 car for Logan taking the track here.
His first start here in AWC Pro Series. And he's got a lot of work cut out for him. His first start here at Legacy, Texas. That's definitely a calling here. I mean, that's not my first bid if I was going to be trying to make a name for myself here. Currently P19 in qualifying. Like only one car hasn't set a lap. The 9 of Nick Bingham back there. If he decides not to set a lap, we'll start back there in P23.
Yeah, this qualifying session winding down, he just set him left. And so, obviously, yeah, a lot of stuff to consider today. I'm curious about the track weather here in Fort Worth, Texas. Looks like a mostly sunny day. But obviously, Christian, talk a little bit more about the track conditions that these drivers have to take upon themselves.
Well, take a look here at our race weather here. From Texas Motor Speedway, track temp of 80 degrees, 113-degree track temp. So that's why you see these cars sliding around a lot. 113-degree track temp. You'll see that actually go down to 107 as we get into the race session here. But 52% humidity. I mean, it does get humid down here in the south here in Fort Worth, Texas. And then you see 12-mile-an-hour wind, blowing from the east to the northeast. So going to actually... Now, that's something we have to talk about because that's going to be blowing kind of into the corner. So that might also kind of upset these cars sometimes. I mean, 12 mile an hour is not a lot, but it's when you're going, 140, 180 down here down the corners, that does make a difference.
Yeah, certainly. A lot of aero sensitivity to consider with this type of a car. Talking about the side draft and the air that you can dump on another person's spoiler coming up on him. So I think we'll definitely see, a lot of aero griefing in a sense, maybe here today with the consideration of the wind. But yeah, we are getting ready to go green here. Texas Speedway qualifying all finished up.
We'll just wait on these drivers to get ready to go and ready to get your starting green. Your starting grid here presented by HVTV. Get ready to go.
Texas. Yeah, just really looking forward to this race today here because, like you mentioned, Christian, legacy content, it really doesn't get much better than this race.
I definitely agree. Yeah, they're already going here. So let's go ahead and get your starting grid over here. I'll get you our top 10 here. Jake Scarborough, Jake Probst going to be round out that row 1. Bryson Bird, Brett Bennett, row 2. You'll see Enrique Cucalan back there in P5. P6 will go to the 42 of Roberts. Acosta, Rambam, Chastain, and West Green in that 09 will round out your top 10.
Taking all through the 11th through 20th positions here, we've got James Coslow in the 97. And we have Trainer in the 3 machine, John Trainer, back for another race with the AWC pack. We've got Tim Goulet Jr. in the 39 Dude Wipes machine. Glad to see him in the field today. Tyler Watermelon in the 68 car. Then we've got Gomera in the 23, Ryan Jones in the 08, Landon A. Brown in the 30, David Huckleberry in the 52, Christopher Logan in the 1, and Boutwell in the 47.
Running out the rest of the field for tonight's race. Reed, Towle, and Bingham back there in that 9 machine. But you see pace car is off. 100 laps here from Texas Motor Speedway as we're going to get ready to go green here from Texas. Across the stripe this time. Jake Scarborough will take the point here. Fastest in practice, took the pole here late. He's going to lead your first laps tonight.
Yeah, and you can already see Carlos Acosta down 3 spots from his starting position. Had a good outing at Homestead Miami Speedway, was able to pass a lot of cars towards the latter end of the race as we see Bird in the 53 car diving to the inside. Gonna make that pass and clear up on Probst in the 62 machine. Already making some moves early here at the Texas Motor Speedway.
Yeah, you see the 53 machine trying to be aggressive here on the start to make up the spots here early. You see the 77, the 53, those 2 Fords leading the field here. And then, remember, Zach Probst started in that front row, back down to P3, and then Brett Bennett sitting back there in 4th. And already a little bit of a gap back through that 06.
Yeah, and obviously a little bit of separation going on here. And starting these few laps here, you can see a little bit of multi-groove racing side by side, at least in the middle of the corner, and it's going to be interesting to see how that changes throughout the race. Obviously, everyone on fresh tires right now, grip levels at a relatively decent max, so going to see those guys riding side by side for the foreseeable opening stage of this race.
That's going to be interesting to see. You see a lot of drivers already here being pretty aggressive to make up spots early. You see Brian on the bottom. You'll see the 09 of Wester Green. They're on trying to get around him on that bottom side, but we're seeing some guys already be aggressive to try to get through the field here. You see, that 09 we just talked about up 4 spots. Matthew Chastain up 2 spots, and then you see some of these people trying to maybe save a little bit of tire. Enrique Cucalan down 3. Wyatt Roberts down 4, right?
Yeah, that tire saving, I think, is definitely the mindset of those guys that might be dropping a bit here. I mean, Carlos Acosta down 10 spots. I mean, that is unreal in 5 laps. I mean, gotta think he might have some tire saving in mind, but to be fair, in practice he was around the top 15, so not that fast on pace over a few laps at least, but obviously was able to get a decent qualifying lap starting in 7th, but as you can see, he's getting passed up quite quickly.
I mean, there's a difference between saving tires and just giving up track position, and I feel like, yeah, he might be saving tires, but down 13 spots from where he started. I mean, that's a lot of ground he's got to make up here, back here in the P20 position.
Yeah, and I mean, if I'm thinking about opportunities to get back up in the field, right at this point, I think you just kind of have to ride it out, see how your handling goes over time throughout the stage. And I mean, let's not remember, like mentioned just a few minutes ago, the 02 car was actually able to pass a good 3 or 4 cars coming to the end of the race at Homestead. So if there's anyone who can get it done later in the race, I think it's probably this 02 machine.
I mean, and with this 02, it's kind of, you made your bed, you got to lay in it now. You already give up all this track position sitting back here in P20. If you're going to save tires that much, you kind of have to sit here and kind of play that card. If you gave up all that track position just to try to push to get back up, I mean, you kind of canceled out what you already did. So on this 02, you just kind of have to sit back now. Hopefully these guys push their stuff a little bit harder than you do, and hopefully you can start to make up some spots here if we get a long run here at Texas.
Certainly something to consider here. Coming up on completion of lap 8, Bird still your leader with about a tenth of a second gap to the second place of Scarborough. Building himself nice little cushion to second place. But you can see that 77 driving it into the corner there.
Yeah, I mean, we missed the bet. Now, pass for the lead is the 53. Took it away from the 77, and Drake is one of those guys that he's going to be aggressive, but he's going to be passively aggressive, right? He wants the lead back, but I don't think he's going to be willing to want to burn up his stuff here to get it back, right? And I think that's a smart move, right? If he can stay back there and then keep the pressure on the 53, hope that the 53 Bird maybe overdrives the corner and makes a mistake, he'll be right there to pounce once again.
Yeah, definitely. And Probst in that third place car, 62 machine, he's still on the hunt here. He hasn't let him drive away from him, as you see the fourth place on back. And a little bit of a gap there with Brett Bennett, but still sniffing that rear end of the 77 machine as he gets down into turn 3 there. Obviously, Christian, is there a big consideration here of that clean or dirty air at a track like this? You get a little bit wide there on exit. Are the front splitters going to be begging for that clean air stream to be giving them that downforce that they need throughout the...
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I don't feel like clean air and dirty air is that bad here. These Xfinity cars, I mean, you've even seen in the real life where you can even still like get underneath someone and get them loose, just aero loose, which I really think is something that you don't see a whole lot now in really any of the racing. And like obviously the Cup car, the dirty air is the king there. And the trucks are just so much downforce, you can't really get behind someone like that, except maybe at like a super speedway where like the aero really does matter. But here at the Xfinity car, you can really still get up to someone and get them a little bit aero loose by just sitting right there on the back end. But right now, I think Probst, he's put himself in a really good spot here. I feel like out of these top 3, he's the one guy who hasn't really pushed. Remember, gave up that second spot, has ridden back here in P3, and has his sights set on these two who really haven't gotten away from it. You see that right there? You saw the 77 give that 53 a little air loose there, walks it up the track, and now, I mean, just continuing to put the pressure on your race leader.
Yeah, definitely all gas, no brake here. Christian, talk to us a little bit about what that might feel like in the driver's seat when you get that kind of aero loose feeling. Does the wheel kind of snap out underneath you? Does the rear end kind of slip out? What kind of things are you feeling in the car or the sim?
Well, I guess it depends on like where you are in the corner, right? Because there's different kind of like aero griefing, right? If you're right on the rear end of someone on entry, you can really just feel the car just not want to get down into the corner. And usually, like if you're aero loose on entry, right, you'll overshoot the corner because you're trying to walk it up the track as someone kind of gets you upset, right? And then usually you'll see when people aero grief on entry, you'll see the kind of the leader walk it up the track. You'll see the second place guy drive it down underneath them and try to make the pass. But on exit, completely different, right? If you get him right on exit and you get him walking up the track, the back end will just start to slide. And then it's whether do you keep your foot in it to try to keep the lead, or do you back out of it, try to keep the tires underneath you, potentially put you at risk to, lose a spot.
Definitely. And, kind of noticing that these guys are getting a little spaced out here. Let's take a look at the HVTV machine of Ryan Ronnebaum. Up 3 spots from starting position, running in 5th there. Nice, tidy little race so far, doing his own job, just making sure he's staying with this group. Second lead group here. They're staying in touch with those top 3, but they're not pushing it, not doing anything too much or overdoing their tires. So good to see that HVTV machine up here running the top 5.
Hey, we're right on board with them, and it's funny because in preparation for this series, I took it upon myself to race in one of these Xfinity leagues here on Tuesday nights, and a lot of these drivers race in that series with me on Tuesday, the Slide Job Racing League, SJRL, and this 06 Brett Bennett is one of those drivers, and he's one of these drivers who will not cut you any slack. He will, if you want to pass this 06, he will make you have to earn it. He's not going to pull over to give you the spot. Like, I mean, and it's no offense to the 06 of Bennett, but like there's some incidences where like some moments where like it will slow both of these cars down for him to defend you off here. But so for this 7 of Brian here, it's going to be definitely a task to get around this 06 if he can get back up to the rear end of him.
Yeah, certainly. And also props to David Westergreen in the 09 right behind the 7 car, up 4 positions. So he's doing his due diligence, also running his race, staying in touch with these guys. And also John Trainer, we mentioned him at the beginning of the race in the pre-race. Also, just sniffing outside that top 10 would be a good showing for him to get up into this top 5, or top 10 rather, so close to. But yeah, definitely a few guys to keep an eye on here.
You see, John, he's kind of one of those first drivers to go up there in that second lane, trying to get around the 97 of Casas here in this gas junkie machine. But you see the 3 kind of up the track here, trying to maybe get a little bit of run off the corner. But you'll see the 97, a little bit of an aero grip, and there you go. A little aero grip out of 3. He's going to get around the 97 and put himself up inside the top 10. You'll see the 3 continue to run this high side. It allowed actually Gilberto and number 23 to get around the 97. The 97 starting to fall back, and this is what I was talking about. Do you put yourself in the spot, you know, to lose a bunch of spots here, trying to defend here early? Because now here comes the 68. Here comes Water Malone to take the spot away from the 97. So he went from all the way inside the top 10 all the way back to 13th.
Yeah, that is just unbelievable how strong that aero grip can be, and getting out of shape, you know, going to send you back a few positions at best, but see him still trying to fight through here, getting to the inside of the 68 on corner exit, not quite able to get that quarter panel. Yeah, he's going to have to concede, and so yeah, I mean, what a crazy change in his race for James Cost.
Well, that's the thing though. Now he got sideways. You can't really afford to push unless you feel like the tires are still underneath you enough. But if your tires are hot from that slide and you continue to try to push, you're just going to continue to heat them up even more and more and more. You see Landon Brown get around him as well, and you just see the 97 continuing to fall through the field.
Yeah, and being as aggressive as you possibly can, you know, try and not give up too many positions. But yeah, at a certain point, you know, you got to gather yourself back together and make sure that you're not, you know, hurting your longer run if possible, but it's not able to get up to that 30 car. And yeah, I mean, that's definitely something to keep an eye on is, you know, oh, he's in the wall, the man, really out of shape. Wow. Yeah, he's definitely caught back up to him here. And yeah, obviously flames out of the pipes, the gas, and he's able to roll middle of the corners. You see the side of the car just ever so slightly stepping out, but he's not overcooking that tire. And good job on him for staying this close, staying in touch, because now he's able to pounce. Yeah, definitely. And you can see him there getting ever so close to that quarter panel. He's actually going to be side by side here on exit. Yeah, he's definitely going to ride in line here, I think. The 62 did a better job saving his stuff up here. But he's still holding strong, and he's definitely staying in touch here. So I wouldn't be surprised if he's able to maybe work his way back up. But as of now, Probst in the 62 car taking that spot, and Bird still pulling away with a 2-second lead now after they were fighting there. Yeah, he's doing a really good job here. And obviously, with those two guys fighting behind him second and third, he really pounced on that opportunity to just, keep running his race. And man, yeah, he's really gonna be, I think, the number one guy today to have to get around. So yeah, as of right now, leading as we come up on almost 30 laps complete here at Texas Motor Speedway. Yeah, they are side by side here, and that's going to drag that 42 car up to them, actually. They keep staying side by side. Yeah, he's able to close quite a bit on an exit. But Enrique Cucalone putting the 22 machine where it needs to be here. Seats the position going into turn one. Yeah, and just fighting that handling there. He sees me fall him down in the corner. He's really hunting that left rear quarter panel, but easing his way up the track. Yeah, I mean, he's definitely doing a good job here, Enrique. Just being able to pace with that 06 car, not get out of shape too much. And I think this 42 machine is kind of just sitting here and waiting for a mistake or for them to start battling here. Because, yeah, see, look, he's able to really gain on them there, get a good run. And I think the decision here is going to come on the 22 car with whether or not he decides to stay on line to go. Yeah, and Brett Bennett, not one of those guys that's had a car in front of him. Ooh, as you see, yeah, everyone's jockeying for position here, it seems. As they're going to be side by side on exit. Oh, the 77 out of shape. The 22 is going to follow him. He's going to dive to the inside. Yeah, and I mean, in less than half a lap, saw the 77 of Scarborough just lose all those spots, and you can see him just fading more and more back towards the car of Matthew Chastain, actually. And the 06 also kind of, getting the short end of the stick there with that battle, not being able to maintain position. Enrique Cucalone still pulling it strong. And you see the 77 going to the pits, actually, followed by the 42 machine. Or not the 42. Yeah, and I mean, if you're fighting handling, Christian, I mean, I think the best remedy for that is, 4 fresh Goodyear tires, right? I mean, can you really argue with that decision there if he's fading that much? Yeah, definitely. And actually, the 22 car taking over that second place spot. Probst dropping in the running order here. Um, I think he came down pit road. Yeah. Yeah, and obviously, a lot of guys going lap down here. Um, yeah, gonna be interesting to see this pit cycle. Obviously, we were wondering if we were gonna get those green flag stops, and obviously that time has come here.
That's good.
Um,
No, it's going to be interesting because I think now we're in that spot now where we know what people are going to do, right? Well, getting around to 30 now, but you see, oh wow, those 06 out of pit road, I believe. Yeah, look at the tire. Look at the difference in speed here. These are 2 cars on fresh tires versus 40 lap old tires here, and they're just gonna fly past these guys.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, that's not even fair. You'd think that the 47 car dropped a cylinder or something. Wow, that's not even close. Obviously, that tire advantage is something that a lot of these guys, if they were fighting that handling, they might be able to maximize that crossover point with where they pit and how fast they're able to run with the lap times. And so for some of these guys, they're hammered down at this point, and they're just trying to see, okay, I might not have had the best flat-out race pace, but maybe I can jump step somebody on pit road here. And so it'll be really interesting to see how the remainder of the guys who stayed out, top 5 speaking on how they fall into this, because Christian, the longer they stay out, I mean the lap times aren't getting any faster for them, right?
Oh no, exactly. I mean now Bryson here he comes down pit road actually. Good call here. He was running 33 ones versus now we'll see. Look at the 06 as he crosses the line at 31.3. So that was already 2 seconds, and that was an outlap there. Yeah, a 31.5 for Brett Bennett there. This is a 33.1, almost 2 second fall off compared to the these drivers who've already come out on fresh tires.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm thinking maybe Bird felt pretty confident in his ability to stay out on the racetrack, get some clean laps and consistent laps in, which is totally fine. And obviously making that decision to concede first place and come down pit road for those 4 fresh Goodyears and away from his pit box he goes as he exits pit lane, will come up through the gears on the apron and rejoin. And so, yeah, it's all about seeing that differential as we see the 06 car able to jump step him.
That's going to be very interesting. You see the 61, the 06, you see the 62. I think that's the 23 Gamera. Also jump up ahead of this 53, and that just shows it right there, right? Obviously, now looking at it, I mean, we're on lap 40. He pitted on lap 43. That tells me they cannot make it to halfway. So that's kind of interesting. So that means regardless of where you pit, you have to pit twice, regardless, unless we get a caution here. Then maybe like do some fuel saving or something, right?
Oh, and you can see the difference already with the 53 car. He's really able to drive it in the corner there. He ripped the bottom. He might clear the 23 on entry here. He will.
Yeah, that's gonna be interesting to see how long he can go. Remember, Bryson on his out lap. Gamera's already got 8 laps on those tires, and he's already pretty well gapped behind this 53 machine. So it's gonna be funny because Jake Scarborough actually in the 09, 9 laps and 11 laps on their tires, they're actually leapfrogged the rest of this field here. And they've got a 5-second gap back here to the 06, who's back here in P3.
Yeah, that is pretty funny, and good on them for being able to figure that out. Obviously, we saw who was the first taker. It was the 77 of Scarborough. He got passed up by those 3 cars in half a lap, and he decided, hey, I've had enough of this. I'm going to start this pit cycle here. And obviously it's paying off for him. We'll see if he can fight with Westergreen here, maybe take advantage of that track position, being first.
It's going to be interesting. And honestly, they can't afford to fight right now because they're on the oldest tires, plus slowing each other down trying to fight. Like, if I'm the 09, you let the 77 go if you think he's a little bit quicker than you right now. Obviously, you've already led some laps. You've got some bonus points. You guys are just slowing each other down right now. You guys, if you guys are doing this pit strategy, you need to get to probably lap 70 which is pretty far away now. It's almost 25 laps away. You guys cannot afford to do this. Really, you gotta figure out who's gonna lead this field, and just kind of sit there and you know, wait and see how long it takes these other guys to catch back up. You're just in that one lap, almost a half a second gone.
Exactly. That whole lap, they were pretty much side by side, and you can see the interval is dropping little by little to that third place machine of Bird, actually going up a little bit more here. So they figured it out, obviously, with the 77 getting up in the front. And I'm thinking maybe Scarborough was just like, hey, you know, I'm not that good following in line here. I know my car is better in the front, and obviously Westergreen was able to kind of, you know, sense the situation, I think, and keep that spot, but not quite able to stay up and tucked pretty close to him. So it's really going to come down to race pace at this point, and whether or not they're able to maintain that race pace with the consideration of their older tires on the rest of the field.
Now remember, well, this 09, if we see right here, has 2 lap older tires, but you have to think the 77's down on the pole, so we know he knows how to run laps here at Texas. This is the 09. I mean, he's up 8 spots. He qualified back there in 10th. So we're looking at a pole sitter versus a, you know, someone who's sitting back at P10. I'm not saying that's bad for the 09, but right now it just looks like Jake has a little bit more experience, getting a little bit more out of his car right now.
Yeah, and you can see Bird actually in the third place spot now. Bennett dropping quite a bit. So Bird able to cut down on that lead quite a bit, under 3 seconds so far. So he is really moving here. And so for these top 2 guys, it's going to be really tough, I think, to hold him off once he does get up there, because he is moving.
Yeah, I mean, he is. I mean, you look at the lap times here, 31.9 versus a 30.9, right? So a second a lap quicker. So, I mean, it's within 2 or so laps before he gets back here. And he is flying right now. I mean, he's in the camera shot already.
Yeah, I mean, crazy stuff out of this guy, just being able to rally his way back through there after not getting the upper hand on the pit cycle, but obviously he just has that ability to get up there. Take a look from our helicopter cam down the back straightaway, and Bryson Bird under 2 seconds already, under a second and a half actually.
Look at the speed difference here. See that 09 right underneath our ticker here, but look at the speed difference this 53 could carry. I mean, what? That's 1 corner, and that's what, 10 car lengths right there underneath the 09, just like that. I mean, he was half a lap down to these guys, what, 10 laps ago, and he just passed for P2.
Yeah, and that was an uncontested pass, obviously, and Westergren knew that he was not in a position to battle him there, and yeah, as you can see, the 77 is in the sights of the 53. He actually has a lapper to get around, and so that'll be doubly as hard for him to keep that lap time up, and he'll clear actually the 67 on corner exit, one of the other HVTV machines. He'll actually stay on line, and that's the 67 of Brendan Reed in the other HVTV machine. Let's ride on board here for a little bit and just take a look in the rear and see how much closer Bird is able to get here.
I mean, he's probably gonna have the lead here in the turn 3 this lap. I mean, he's already there. So he's already right at the back bumper. You hear the 77 lifting. Bird probably not having to lift yet. And here he's gonna come. Side by side, going down the backstretch, and if Bryson Bird takes it, he probably will. Side by side into turn 3. I don't think he's just gonna give it to
77. Him. Yeah, he drove it in there.
Keeping it, you know, trying to stay humble here. Bird on the bottom, the 77 is Scarborough on the top. 53 will retake your race lead here.
It's not even close.
Not even contested.
Not even close. Wow.
Just like that, Bryson Bird will cycle back to your race lead. Didn't matter that these guys, you know, had a 5-second gap. 53 is just on the rails right now.
Yeah, and obviously, I mean, just not even close to the race pace of any of the other guys. Just way in a league of his own right now as we come up on almost 60 laps completed.
And lap 56, well, we get the time to We're lucky enough to have no crashes, but we are going to take a quick commercial break. We just saw the pass for the lead. We'll probably keep the lead here. If something happens here under commercial, so we're going to take a quick commercial break here, presented by A3 TV, and let our partners over at AWC to talk to you guys for a second, and we'll be right back after a quick break.
Premier Racing setups.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head to head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Yeah, and obviously so glad to have him on board here tonight for the AWC Pro Series at Texas. And I mean, yeah, racing and sports in general, just one of those things that brings everyone from all backgrounds together as we return on track with the 53 of Bryson Bird. And yeah, just so grateful to be here, obviously, in the iRacing booth and being able to watch these guys put on a good show for us and come together with the fans and the drivers here. But yeah, building a pretty decent gap here on the 77 of Scarborough. That's the 53 machine once again. Yeah, in 11 laps, and you might think to yourself, oh, well, I've run 11 laps at this track or that track, and so I can say my stuff. Well, I mean, this is Legacy Texas, right? Like, your stuff can go away quite quickly, and maybe faster than a lot of the other tracks with the abrasive surface here. But yeah, I mean, obviously, right now with the running order where it's at, gonna certainly see some guys with the longer run speed start to trickle their way into the top 10, top 5 as we continue on throughout here. You see Enrique Cucalone in the 22 car holding his own, trying to make sure that he holds position over the 77 who we actually just passed. And so he is making a bit of a charge to the front here. That's Cucalone in the 22 Ford Mustang machine, the gold and white car. Obviously, always good to see that paint scheme out here for the AWC Pro Series. Yeah, obviously Wyatt Roberts in that 42 Ford Mustang machine for Merzic Transportation. Very popular social media figure in Uncle Rob on Instagram, representing that company. And obviously nice to see Wyatt Roberts with those paints and colors today as he works his way around the 62 machine. Not going to be quite clear on exit. Might have to concede that spot. That's the 62. Yeah, he'll fall back in line here. And yeah, like you mentioned, Christian, taking advantage of those tires and just picking them off one by one here. And he's worked his way into a nice little position in the top 5 here. I think he might be able to work his way by the 77. We saw Kukalone just get by him, and so yeah, definitely going to be cool to see where he ends up. But I mean, we're coming up on almost 30 laps to go here. I don't want to insinuate anything, but we haven't had a caution this entire race, and so you got to think for some of these guys, like, they cannot be relying on a caution, and you've got to be able to know what you've got and take advantage of every opportunity you have. As you can see, the 42 getting up to the 77 car, he'll take that spot. Yeah, the way that these guys have split up this pit cycle. Pitted earlier in the race before the halfway point, like you mentioned, Christian, and going to have to come down pit road once again. And obviously we saw the 77 car. He led that pack down pit lane for that first pit cycle. And so I'm wondering if, maybe he tries it again here. Maybe he sees that, hey, I'm falling back again, just like I was for the first pit cycle. And he's going to do it again. He's going to go down pit lane and lead this pack for this second pit cycle, this second and final green flag pit cycle. Yeah, and, running where he was, not a terrible spot to make the decision to come down pit lane. He'll, make sure he gets off pit lane clean there. Everything good, getting up through the gears, and we'll see where he cycles out here. But obviously, he's going to set the tone here now. Will he be able to make up for that track position? Obviously, going to have to stretch it out just under 30 laps on this tire run. Yeah, definitely. And with that gap that he has, he carried a lot of that over from the first deficit that he got from the first round of green flag stops. And so trying to build on that, trying to see, how can I strategize here to make sure that I can, maximize the time spent on pit road relative to the time spent on the track with these older. Oh, the 34 car out of shape. Man, that was close. Yeah, we see. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And I want to talk about Scarborough in the 77 again. Obviously, he led this group down pit road for this second green flag pit cycle. And I'm thinking, he cannot waste any time getting through this field. He needs to make sure that he's making quick work of these lap cars. Because if he gets held up, then that is time wasted for this driver. And so, I mean, what kind of things are you gonna have to navigate here in the closing laps of the race if you're on a strategy like this, Christian? Because obviously, you know, you got to get around these lap cars, but you also got to take care of your tires. So it almost seems like a double-edged sword. Yeah, certainly, and doing everything he can on his part. That's Jake Scarborough in this 77 car. Good to see him boarding the 77 paint scheme. Yeah, not only that, but the gap between first and second has kind of plateaued a little bit around just over 2 seconds over these past few laps here. Obviously, that'll continue to get dragged down more and more. I think Kukulone is continuing to... Oh, yeah, as we see the pit window now for the 53, and Kukulone's going to follow him in. This may be the race for the win here, guys. Oh, man. Yeah, definitely in. Oh no. Yeah, oh man, you gotta feel from there. But the 09 Westergreen out in front, and the 77 of Scarborough actually closing the gap a little bit on him there. Obviously, he got jump stepped on pit lane, and he's carrying ahead at full steam there. And how about Roberts in the 42? Yeah, talking about compressing, you can see Roberts actually working to the inside of the 77 there, and the 09 throwing a block to the top lane. He's going to also drop down to the bottom of the track. The 42 is in position to take advantage here, but as all these guys are continuing the race, that just allows Bird to get ever so closer, and you can see him side by side once again, and that's Bird in the back of the camera shot, actually. So if these guys continue the way that they are, they're going to get run up on quite quickly here with just almost 15 laps to go. Yeah, I mean, the 53 seemingly in a world of his own, just like he was at Homestead last week. You know, he was putting gaps on him quite well. Didn't have the long run that we saw here today so far. A lot of cautions last week at Homestead, and as you can see, he's working to the inside of the 09. He's going to make quick work of him. But definitely, I mean, Bryson Bird just working his way to the front. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, this is just crazy out of this 53 car. Look at that, clearing mid-corner. And the 42 car, just nothing that he can do about it. I mean, they did everything they could. They played the game right. They pit early, they got out, they made lap time, and it just wasn't enough. Even with the 53 car being as buried back in the pack as he was, pitting late. But man, just an amazing show of force here from the 53. Yeah, and talking about that 42 car, you know, such a good job for him as he's getting worked to the inside by the 22 of Kukalone. He'll have to concede that spot and ride it out in third. But yeah, the 42 car not even in the top 10 last week at Homestead. So a really good showing for him here at Legacy, Texas. But I mean, I think that's something to be proud of for him so far. I mean, just being able to be a force to be reckoned with here late in the running. That's all you can really do is give yourself a shot. But good to see him rebounding from that finish last week at Homestead. Yeah, not only that, but I mean, you got to think that the 53 isn't exactly, you know, pushing to his absolute limit here. The 22 is in more of the, you know, aggressor seat here. He's going to have to be pushing as much as he can right now just to either make or be better on lap time. But the 53 car, you know, look at that. He's going down into turn 2 before the 22 even makes turn 1. And so, I mean, hey, anything is possible. But at the same time, you know, Bird is definitely in control here. And you know, quite reminiscent of a week ago, just his ability to control the field at the front and kind of dictate his race, run his race, and do everything that he can to put himself in position, as he does once again here with just under 10 to go. Wow. Yeah, and looking at our top 10 running order here, obviously 12 cars on the lead lap currently, with Carlos Acosta being that last car on the lead lap. And yeah, a lot of guys to give shout outs to. Obviously, you know, Matthew Chastain, you know, hopefully going to finish his race here today at Texas in the top 10, as it looks to be, as he's running in 7th place. Going to add to his top 10 spot at Homestead last week. Yeah, definitely. And talking about guys who have had good days, how about some guys that have not had so good days? Brett Bennett coming home second place last week at Homestead, gonna be a few laps down here as closing laps of this race wind down. He's 2 laps down in 17th place, so definitely not the outing for Bennett. Obviously, oh, we a little bit sideways there for the 12 car. Man, that was a bit out of shape for Matthew Chastain. But yeah, I mean Brett Bennett just not the outing that he wanted today. Let's talk about the 21 car Logan. First debut in the AWC Pro Series. Lap down here, but top 15. You know, kept himself out of trouble for the most part, and able to kind of just, you know, remain as clean as possible for this first race. And yeah, but going back to Bennett, you know, he had that mistake, and you know, hard to recover from that damage, obviously. But yeah, I mean, shout out to the 21 car here. Hopefully he can make some more starts here in the AWC Pro Series, and maybe we'll see him fighting for the lead here in the next few races. Yeah, definitely. And, you know, Kukalone, one of those guys that's been in contention multiple weeks in a row here, talking about Daytona and then last week at Homestead. And, I mean, he's definitely buddies with the 53. You know, they were celebrating doing donuts on the front stretch for a little bit at Homestead last week. But, yeah, Kukalone coming home 4th last week. And then that top 3 finish at Daytona, you know, just gut-wrenching, you know, not being able to get it done there. But obviously the 22 car being in contention again. I think we see him in victory lane at some point this season. Oh, sideways there, actually. Yeah, he's pushing. Yeah, I mean, just an amazing race for this 53 car. Stayed out of trouble, was able to command the pit cycle, even though he didn't come down pit road first, and he was really able to take advantage of those 4 fresh Goodyear tires, no matter where he shuffled out in the running order. And I mean, I was speechless last week, and I'm speechless again, because to do it once is one thing with all the cautions and restarts and whatnot, but to do it twice in this fashion with the long runs, I mean, you got to give him props here, man. Yeah, that 53 Valvoline machine. Great paint scheme to see in the AWC Pro Series. See the Enriquez designs as he's going to celebrate with Matthew Chastain on the front stretch in that 12 car. Yeah, and I mean, just awesome stuff, and we'll be able to talk to your top finishers here actually once we conclude with the post race celebrations and festivities. But I mean, to win back to back, I mean, huge for him, and once again in the fashion that he won, I mean, you just cannot deny that this guy's prowess is going to continue throughout the remainder.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head to head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Welcome you back for the virtual Texas Motor Speedway. And we were just informed that we did have some technical difficulties with my microphone personally, but luckily we had Matthew in here to help call the race here, and he kind of gave you a rundown of his opinion. We apologize for that. Obviously, some things can happen, but let's go ahead and talk to you, 53. Go ahead and talk to your winner from Texas and Bryson Bird. Hey, Bryson, it's Christian and Matthew up here in the HVTV booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, I got you.
Once again, congratulations on once again another dominating win in these mile-and-a-half style tracks. You right here, leading 79 of 101 laps. What's the feeling right now, sitting in that 53 machine?
I'm just speechless because last season I didn't have a single win. I get my first career win last week, and then just to go back to back, that's just insane.
Now we talk about, like, I wouldn't say the struggles you had last season, but just the inability to get in victory lane, like you said, and now bringing off like 2 in a row. I mean, what do you think's changed here in this 53 camp? Obviously, we know you had speed last season. You showed speed, but tonight, now 2 in a row, you've been by far the dominant car of the race.
I've just put in a lot of practice for the long runs. I've always been a really fast short run driver, and I can leave the pack, but after 20 laps, I'd get reeled in and fall back to 5th, and that's about where I'd finish. But not this time. We got it figured out now.
That's something we talked about actually in during the broadcast. Is last year we talked about your struggles on the long run, and obviously me and you racing together from time to time. I've seen that out of you as well, but it's cool to see that you see these, if you want to call it weaknesses, that you have in your craft, and going out of your way to get better at it. And obviously we've seen it tonight. You, I mean, be by far the fastest car, especially on this long run. Obviously it didn't matter. People tried to out strategize you and short pit you. Didn't really matter tonight.
Yeah, I mean, main thing for me was another thing. I've short pitted people a couple times, and it just has not worked out for me. So I've decided to start running longer if I can, which that's been working.
Speaking of that long run, do you think, you staying out a little bit longer, do you think that cushion you kind of just built throughout that run before everybody comes down pit road, do you think that just gave you that little bit of a security blanket to stay out a couple more laps? Because you have that, it seemed like about a 2-3 second gap to that car back in there in P2.
Yeah, I mean, that was the main goal at the beginning of the race. I was trying to get a pretty big lead so that I could play that strategy because it worked last week.
And we definitely saw, the same speed out of you at Homestead. So, once again, congratulations. 2 in a row here from Texas. So I mean, that's a feat in its own self. But before I let you go tonight, Bryson, anybody you want to thank for your win here from Texas Motor Speedway?
Yeah, I just want to thank all my teammates for helping me out every week.
Well, definitely couldn't do it without your teammates here. Obviously, we saw them celebrating with you down here in Victory Lane. So, speaking of that, we're going to drag you back out to continue your celebration here. And once again, congratulations on your second win of the season. Hopefully, we can talk to you some more down here in Victory Lane.
All right, thank you.
Second win of the season for Bryson Bird. And I think we got Matthew down here in the pits with Enrique Cucalon.
Enrique Cucalon. See what he's up to right now. Enrique, This is Matthew and Christian down on pit road with you here, but let me know if you got a copy, and let's talk a bit about your race.
I got a copy. Go ahead.
Awesome, man. I mean, first of all, just an amazing run. We saw you dicing it up, making your way through the field throughout the pit cycle there. And first thing I wanted to talk about is how was the race? How was the car? How was it to be back at Legacy, Texas in the iRacing?
Well, it was definitely fun. I mean, I've never run here at Legacy, Texas, at all. I don't think at Texas at all in my league racing career. So it was definitely fun to come in here, and I certainly enjoy this type of Texas more, because it's the same both ends and higher banking. But it was certainly fun to come back here, here to Texas specifically, because this was one race that I had circled on the calendar where I thought I could possibly maybe go out and win, but yeah, it's another second place finish. But this one doesn't stick as much as Daytona, because Daytona we were so close, but here I just knew Bryson that was very quick. So congratulations to him.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously, we remember you celebrating on the front stretch with the 53 car last week at Homestead Miami Speedway. A good showing for you there, and obviously, following up that good running at Homestead with a second place finish here. But let's go back to that last pit cycle, Enrique. Obviously, you were following the 53 car into pit lane, actually gained a few car lengths on him getting down on pit road, and we're pretty much even with your pit in, pit out time. And yeah, just walk us through that whole process of just trying to run him down there at the end.
Oh yeah, I mean, I know Bryson is way quicker than me on the short run. Like we run these practice sessions usually the day before the race, and I know he's way faster than me on the short run. Like, and I knew like after the first run I was kind of catching him down, running him down. I got held up by a few cars here and there, but I was catching him, and I told myself that if I hadn't caught him before the end of the second run, that I just wouldn't have been able to catch him, because that final run to the end was 20-25 laps, and at that point I knew like I was genuinely trying. I was overdriving the car and everything, just trying to get to him. But at the end, another second place finish. It stinks, but hey, he put on a great show. Like he wore me out. I was certainly just trying to go catch him, do anything I could. But I mean, I really needed I feel like if I had gotten a more like long run at the end of the race, probably 120 laps, I probably made something. But it's still a great effort for the team. We locked out the top three. We had some fast cars here and there. I think Brett was the only one that had issues. Relegated him further behind, but still a pretty good race for the team.
Yeah, certainly, man. And obviously, good outing for you here, considering that you don't have a lot of track time at the Legacy Texas racetrack. And so definitely something to be proud of. And obviously, getting another top 5 finish here, I think is definitely something to look forward to. I really hope we speak to you in the future, in maybe Victory Lane. But before we let you go here, anybody you want to thank or give a shout out to?
Oh, yeah, certainly want to shout out my team, of course, Brad, Bryson, Michael, Matthew, Zach, Wyatt, everybody who supports the team. Tyler, even though he I don't really know what happened to him today. I didn't really see him, but Tyler as well. Just thank you to them for allowing me to be part of this. Thank you to Jake for getting this league on. Thank you guys, of course, here in the HSV TV booth, for putting on this show, of course, for me to rewatch and take a look at my goofy moments here and there. But it's certainly a great result. Thank you as well to the person that makes me run this car. We have gotten so many good results with this car so far in the season. P2 at Daytona, P4 last week at Homestead after a few penalties here and there, and now second again at Texas. So we're off to a great start to the season, and it's for me, I feel like it's only going to go up from here.
Well, we appreciate your time, and obviously best of luck moving forward. That's Enrique Cucalone in the 22 machine.
Yep, thank you guys.
Good finish for that 22 machine, and Wyatt Roberts comes home P3 here in the 42. Let's go ahead and get him up here to the booth. Hey, Wyatt Roberts, is Christian and Matthew up here in the HVTV booth. You got us?
Yes, I do. Cop.
Well, a P3 finish for you and this whole 42 team. Obviously, we've seen a lot of flashes of speed for you, not even last year, but especially this year. Obviously, not the finish you wanted at Homestead last week, but today showed, I would say, top 2, top 3 pace. Walk us through your race. Walk us what got you up here inside this top 3 tonight.
Yeah, started on that first long run as today was all caution free, but ran it all the way to the end. saved my tires early. I dropped a few spots, but made it back up to third. Then stayed out a little bit longer than Bryson and Enrique to get my lap led, to get the bonus point. Clean pit stop on the fresher tires since I pitted later, made my way through. And then on the final pit stop, I went a little bit earlier, seeing if I could get ahead of Bryson and Enrique. And I did get the lead a couple laps, but they just built enough gap, and them pitting later, it was still good, and they passed me in the last 15. But I mean, I still finished third, so I mean that's where I was gonna be either way.
And just talk about it's interesting to see how much quicker that 22 and that 53 were compared to some of you guys tonight. Do you think maybe the tire wear had to do something? Was it something that maybe that those two just figured out that no one else could really get a grasp on tonight?
Yeah, Bryson Bird he was really fast on short run speed and lap time, but he was also, I mean, he dominated today. I think he led basically every lap that wasn't under pit cycle. So um I don't know, he hit his marks every time, I think, and didn't slide the tires any extra than needed.
And walking us through, obviously, a lot of the fans at home don't really get to see a lot of this, old version of the Texas Motor Speedway. What is the kind of the key differences that you have to come into driving, this older wore out surface versus, the new track reconfiguration that a lot of us are used to seeing?
Yeah, so the old Texas is a lot more like other 1.5s. It's the same banking on both sides. It is a tri-oval though, so it's still different. 1 and 2, 3 and 4. You have to approach them differently. In the older surface, it does wear the tires down. Not as bad as the old Atlanta, but it's definitely still abrasive, and it was a hot track, about 119 Fahrenheit. So the tire wear was there, and I wore a lot of tread off on the long runs, and I even thought I was saving. So no matter what, you really have to manage those tires if you want to stay fast for the whole 45 lap run and the whole day.
Well, you did a good job. I felt like, splitting up that last stage there, pitted around that kind of that same time as Jake and back in the '09 and those drivers there, and we're able to drive your way up to a P3 finish. So first of all, congratulations on a good result tonight here from Texas. But before you let you go, anybody want to thank tonight for this podium position here in week 3?
I'd like to say thanks to my Circumference Ultimate Motorsports teammates, and we did amazing today. Bryson Bird with the win, Enrique, and now we got Zach Pops in the fourth driver spot. But is amazing day as the team, uh, nearly maximum team points. But also thanks to my dad. He watches all the races since I've started sim racing league races. So big thanks to him, and thanks for the broadcast.
We appreciate the kind words up in the booth, and and I love to hear that you got the family, coming and watching the races. It's super cool to see that. It's not, they call it a lot of times NASCAR a family sport, and you on sim racing you can see that as well. So really cool to hear that from up here. But once again, Wyatt, congratulations on this P3 finish. Hopefully you can keep this momentum up, and we can talk to you maybe a couple of places higher in the coming future.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yep, you have a good rest of the night.
You too.
Wyatt Roberts comes home P3 and a really good strategy call out of him, like we talked to him about it. Hitting around that same time as the 77 and the '09, able to, save just that little bit more tire and get himself into that P3 position and just a good all around race, a quick race just due to no cautions tonight, Matthew.
Yeah, and I mean, just a great showing of obviously all the different strategies playing out with the pit cycle and long run speed, tire saving. We had a lot of talk about that at the pre-race, and I mean, I think we were treated to all that and more tonight here at Texas Motor Speedway. And obviously, a huge shout out to all the drivers for making it out here tonight. It was really good to see everybody on track here, and a few different contenders throughout the race with the pit cycle, obviously.
Yeah, it was really cool.
So definitely great to come back here to Legacy, Texas.
It was definitely cool to see the tire strategy, and it was cool to see because you kind of saw the same guys kind of like make their way up to the front and fall back to eventually the Bryson Bird, right? You saw the 77 and '09 kind of stick to that strategy of pitting on that lap 30-ish, right? Then you'd see, the 42, the oh 06, and the 22 in that kind of second pack, right? They'd go up there and get around the 77 and the oh 06 and the 62 and all those, right? And then you'd finally see Bryson Bird, for the most part, who was on his own besides that last run, finally get his way back around the field. And it was just super cool to see how everybody managed their strategies and just kind of naturally kind of fell back into order.
Yeah, certainly. And obviously, just awesome to see how, once again, the 53 car of Bird just being able to command the field. Been saying it all day, from the start. Really, I mean, leading all those laps. I truly think that he will be a significant force to be reckoned with as we continue throughout the remainder of the AWC Pro Series.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, obviously this is our third week, so it's a long season to go through. But first years with the super speedway, and you can debate whether you know a, ta- a gifted driver can be a contender by winning at a super speedway. Granted, whoever won that race deserved it, and he was in the right place at the right time, and we're not going to take that away. But you go back and look at the 53. After Daytona, he's come out and dominated both races here. First at Homestead, and here at Texas, two kind of polar opposite tracks, right? Homestead, high banking, where I feel like the tire saving is a lot easier to do, and then you come here to Texas, where it's wore out, it's abrasive, it's kind of only one line versus Homestead, where you can kind of run wherever you need to. Then you come here to Texas, where I mean, literally, there's not really a whole lot that is the same here compared to Homestead.
Yeah, and with Homestead, we saw not only the difference in the track and the fact that we also went into the night for a little bit of that race towards the end there, but we also saw a lot of caution. So, like I mentioned earlier, for the 53 car to come out today and really show everybody that long run pace was something that was a little bit different than last week, because we did have a lot of caution. We did have a lot of bunching up of the field and shuffling back and forth between these guys. And though that was entertaining in its own right, it was just as entertaining to see the 53 just take charge here and really just remain out in front for the majority of the race. And it was very clear from the start that he was going to be the one to beat. And like you said, Christian, the race was really just going to be for second place. But it was great to see that change in dynamic from last week to this week, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely cool to see how that 53 kind of just methodically worked his way through the field. He knew coming in that he'd be staying out later. He'd have that disadvantage at the start. He just continued to methodically work his way through the field. He knew he had the car to beat, probably after that first run, and just continued to be patient. And that's the thing that I feel like we didn't really touch on, is he could afford to be patient just because of how quick he was there, driving through the field. Whether it was the fresh Goodyear tires, whether it was just something he figured out, he could afford to be patient. He could afford to, not to sit behind the car so he could safely get around them. Versus everybody else, it seemed like that they had to push. They had to be kind of impatient just to try to continue to like almost negate the damage that that 53 was putting on.
Yeah, the 22 car, we saw that with Enrique Cucalone. He was really pushing it at the end there just to try and get as much cut into the gap that was between him and the 53 car. And there was just nothing there, right? And yeah, you talk about having the luxury of being able to be patient, and I mean, obviously, the 53 car, he was cutting up through the field quite quickly when he did get by a lot of those cars after the pit cycle, and so definitely making good use of those 4 fresh Goodyear tires after that strategy call to come in a little later than a lot of the other guys, and so that was definitely not anything that that was a shortcoming to him, and so he was able to put that behind him and drive through the field, and no one else really held a candle.
Oh, I mean, definitely, he was by far the class of the field tonight here from Texas, and you know, hopefully we could see someone, maybe, rise to the top, and rise to the occasion here to see if someone else could come in here and potentially take this dominance away. But remember, coming into next week, we go to Bristol. This is kind of the first outside of what we've seen before track, right? We went to Daytona at the start, and obviously saw definitely a chaotic race there. We came to Homestead for the Beach Bash 150 and saw, the same driver come out and dominate in both those races. And now we go to Texas, the Bristol next week, where, really everything can get flipped on its head.
Yeah, and Bristol just one of those historic tracks that you really never know what you're gonna get. I mean, obviously we're gonna have a lot of side by side action, I think, and a lot of craziness going on at all parts of the track at any given point in time. Obviously, the bump and run is a huge threat for a lot of these drivers, but seeing the tenacity and a lot of the skill that these drivers have brought the past several races here in the AWC Pro Series, I think Bristol is gonna fit that mentality for a lot of these drivers quite well. And it'll be a question mark with whether or not the 53 car of Bird is going to be able to continue that momentum. But until next week, we'll have to wonder about that.
It's definitely going to be interesting to see who can rise up to the top. With Bristol just being so much different, it's going to open up the candle to maybe someone who is maybe a short track specialist here in AWC Pro Series. But we'll just have to see here going into next week. But I definitely had a great time calling the race, and I hope Matthew did up here in the HVTV booth as well. And we'll continue to cover the call to coverage here on Fridays here for these AWC Pro drivers. But once again, my name is Christian Elgato alongside Matthew Puchatsky back up here in the HVTV booth. Congratulations to Bryson Bird, and we will see you guys next week once again here for week 4 of the AWC Pro Series as we go down south once again to Bristol, Tennessee for some short track action. And we appreciate everybody for coming out. If you guys wouldn't mind subscribing to the High Velocity TV channel before you guys leave, dropping a like on the broadcast and just sharing the broadcast with friends and family. We are aware that we did have some technical difficulties there towards the end of the race, but tried to do the best what we could there at the end. But we appreciate all the love and camaraderie that has come to the channel these last couple of years. And can't wait to continue to call some races up here for these AWC Pro drivers. But once again, we hope everybody has a great rest of your Friday. Enjoy, the Dakota weekend here in real life as we get ready to kick off some road course stuff as the trucks go to St. Pete, and then obviously the O'Reilly and Cup Series goes down to Austin, back here in Texas here for some road course action. But once again, hope everybody has a great rest of your Friday night. Enjoy the weekend, and we'll see you soon for some more NASCAR action.